everyone, how's it going? James here, thanks for tuning in. In the background, very faintly, you can probably hear, this is Steve Hackett, Please Don't Touch. This is his second solo album, but the first one he made after leaving Genesis. He made one album when he was sort of coming to the end of his time in the band. He got a taste of solo success, I think, and then left the band, made another album, and that's this one. This is the first album I've actually ever owned by Steve, and it's really good. It's obviously, you know, it's prog, but it also takes in other stuff as well. There's a bit of pop, there's a bit of folk, there's a bit of soul music. Yeah, just a real nice mixture of things, and you know, it's got Steve's great guitar work. Kind of nylon string classical guitar stuff that he did so well. So yeah, this was the grand total of £4. So I was pleased to find it. I picked it up along with a few other records I'm going to show you today from Vintage Vinyl, which is a record shop in Morecambe, which is a little seaside town near where I live. And it's a shop. It is my local record shop. Just I'd never been there before. I'd heard things about it and didn't have a great reputation. I know John Downing, 6-inch pianist, had been there, and he hadn't been very impressed with the pricing and the condition. And I must admit, I kind of saw where he was coming from. You know, there was a lot of records in there which were really not priced up right. In fact, a fair few of them were not priced up at all. It's that thing where you have to go to the counter and, you know, the guy looks up the record while you're standing there. And in fact, even worse than that, he then gets a little sticker and he writes the price on as you're standing there watching him and sticks it on the record, you know. And one or two of those stickers have not properly come off, so just goes to show. He didn't strike me as being somebody who knew anything about music at all. He seemed pretty green, you know, and the records are not in the greatest condition, and the prices are not wonderful, so.
Yeah, it's not correct. Is she there?
Yes. What were you before?
What am I into? Well, I mean, I'm going to I'm so bad. Good on the pretty good. I was never into the Beatles. Seriously? Never liked the Beatles. Rolling Stones for me.
So you'll have seen from the title of the video, Seaside metal detecting. I didn't go there intending to buy heavy metal. It's just that I happened to see some things which fell into that category. Yeah. So before we get on to those, just a couple of other bits and pieces. I've got a couple of albums by Split Enz. So there's this one. Now, this is a bit confusing, okay. Split Enz, the band that Tim Finn was in before Crowded House. Now this is their second album, okay. Now the first album was called Mental Notes, but this is not it. This is the second album, and when it was released in Australia, it was called Second Thoughts, but then it was re-released in the rest of the world, and for some reason they called it Mental Notes, which had been the name of the first album. So it's the second album called by the name of the first album. And what's quite funny is that when this cover adorned the original album, which had been called Mental Notes. This guy here had actually got hair, and by the time the second album came around, he'd lost his hair. So when they redid this sleeve, they made him bald. This is a very strange record. You can see from the artwork, not really anything like what you think of as the kind of later Split Enz. It's very art rock. Just look at the state of the band. It's like a mixture of early Roxy Music and early Genesis. Very strange. Not at all what I was expecting, but I really enjoyed it. So there was that one, and then I also picked up from much later in their career a copy of Conflicting Emotions. This is their second to last album, produced by Hugh Padgham. This one, a completely different kettle of fish. By this time it had they had both the Finn brothers in the band, Tim Finn and Neil Finn, and yeah, it's much more kind of slick 80s pop rock. Good album. So yeah, I was pleased to find those. I should be on the lookout for more Split Enz, but yeah, this is a very odd record. Good, but odd. Okay, yes, so I also found a good twofer Kevin Ayres from the Soft Machine. This is a twofer combining his albums Joy the Toy and Shooting at the Moon, which again is sort of bonkers English whimsy art rock. Now he is looking very ethereal and handsome. This record contains contributions from Mike Oldfield and also from Robert Wyatt. Quite off its head again. Nice cover. Okay, so now onto the hard rock and metal. Grabbed a copy of the Scorpions' Animal Magnetism. I was really into the Scorpions when I was a teenager, but I never really was very completist about their work. This album features my favourite song of theirs though, which is The Zoo. And I'd never heard the studio version. I only knew the live version, which is on their, is it Worldwide Live album? I used to listen to the Scorpions on the Friday Rock Show when I was 16. Great Radio 1 radio show. I think it used to start at 10 o'clock in the evening and run through to midnight. That's where I heard the Scorpions. It's also where I heard this band actually, and pure nostalgia fest for me. This is Magnum and the album Wings of Heaven. Magnum are from the West Midlands in England. They're kind of prog pop metal, and this was their kind of commercial breakthrough album. Contained the song Days of No Trust, quite kind of keyboard heavy, but lovely melodic rock songs. They look very 80s and U2-esque there, don't they? Trying to jump on the Joshua Tree bandwagon, I think. It was their 7th album. It charted at number 5 in the UK. So there we go, Magnum. When I went to see Kiss, I saw Kiss at Birmingham NEC on the Crazy Nights tour. One of these two guys, I can't remember which one, either Tony Clarkin or the other one, was in the audience at that gig. I know because the friend that I was with recognised him. He was sat a few rows from us, so yeah. There we go. Right, I also picked up this record. This is Rainbow Long Live Rock and Roll, which I think is their 3rd album. Let me just check that. 3rd studio album, 1978. Featuring Cozy Powell, Ronnie James Dio, Witchy, Blackmore of course. Yeah, this is a great album actually. I've always been a fan of Rainbow. This record was in the collection of my cousin. I had this cousin when I was growing up, and he was a bit older than me, and he had a great collection of hard rock records. And this is one of the first albums I ever remember pulling from his collection and kind of, you know, looking at. I think it was when I Surrender was in the charts, so I just clued into Rainbow, but it was their more poppy kind of incarnation, and I knew nothing about them at all. That would have been back in the kind of early 1980s, so it's taken me a long time to grab this, but I saw it at a reasonable price, £6, and you can see there where that idiot put the sticker on. And the last one I got on that day was Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden, and this is an original pressing. It contains the inner. There is a little bit of surface noise that I've not managed to eliminate. It's not too distracting, but it's definitely there. You sort of notice it in the quieter passages. I was never massively into Iron Maiden back in the day, but lots of riffs and incredibly tight, energetic playing and everything. So I've got a few Maiden records now. I don't know how much further I'll take the collection, but that was a good thing to pick up. That was, I think I got that for £9. So yeah. Again, this came out at about the same time. Might even have been the same year actually as Magnum. I certainly heard it on the Friday Rock show. But like I said, for some reason, I think I was never that into the kind of operatic metal thing. You know, that kind of Bruce Dickinson operatic vocal style. Was never quite my cup of tea, and it's still not quite my cup of tea, but still I enjoyed it nevertheless. So there we go, a bit of Maiden. Okay, there we go, just a quick one. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back soon. Hopefully my voice will have improved by then. So I'll love you and leave you. Take care and keep on spinning.